Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday evening to you all. I hope you guys are doing great out there tonight. Had yourselves a wonderful day, and I certainly hope everyone has been having a great week out there so far. Here to bring you the latest information that we have on what's going on with this tropical wave we've been discussing for about almost a week now, it seems like. Maybe not that long, but it's been at least 4 to 5 days. This has an even more increased shot to develop into a depression or a next named storm, which would be the D name, which is Debbie. So what we'll do is we'll discuss what's going on with it right now. We'll go over the latest information from the National Hurricane Center, and we'll go over all the model guidance. As wacky as it is, we will discuss every bit of it. But I want you guys to do me a favor. Please, when you look at this model guidance, don't lock on to one specific model and one, freak out about it, two, immediately assume that's exactly what's going to happen. And just don't make any assumptions. Don't worry too much. We just still got a lot of figuring out to do. But some of this model guidance I'm going to show you is pretty wild. And that has not changed from last night's video, from this morning's video, but we'll go over all of it. We'll talk about the model ensemble guidance also. And then we'll discuss the environment background out ahead of this storm that could promote this to strengthen. And then we'll talk about steering currents and why this model guidance is showing these crazy scenarios where this tropical system could potentially do some loop-de-loops, stall out, all kinds of stuff. Okay, and that's a very important timestamp that'll be up, steering currents. That'll help you guys, the audience, understand why we're getting these crazy, wacky scenarios from the models. And then we'll discuss a little bit about impacts. We haven't done that yet. That'll be a tab right at the end of the video. We're not going to spend a ton of time on that because that'll change so much, but I'll kind of show you how much rainfall potentially could fall from this. Okay, so timestamps will be up throughout the entire video. Utilize them, guys. Take advantage of them. They're there to help you guys out, to skip ahead to certain portions of the video that you want to pay attention to the most. I don't get offended if you don't watch the entire the video, movie, whatever you want to call it. I don't get offended one bit. I understand not everybody has the time to spend 35, 45 minutes on a weather video. So with all that being said, if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put those in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling. So this is what's going on out there in the tropics, a little bit closer to home. So this is the Gulf of Mexico. This is, of course, the U.S. This is the Caribbean down here, and this is the Southwest Atlantic. And this is our tropical wave right here. Our area of interest, now dubbed an investigation by the National Hurricane Center, 97L. So when it gets dubbed an investigation, that pretty much says, okay, this has a potential to develop. That pretty much sums it up there. Okay, so this is our tropical wave, and I know you probably look at this and say, hey, you know, that don't look a whole lot different from all this other stuff down here, and it really isn't. This is a lot of tropical activity ongoing right now in the Eastern Pacific right now too, but this is a pretty well put together wave. It's very large, very broad, and that's actually going to prevent it in the shorter term from really getting its act together. Typically, the kind of more compact these tropical waves are, the more they can kind of find a dominant piece of energy, latch onto it, and then develop a low-level circulation. This is very large, very strung out. Portions of it's extending, south of Hispaniola, and then a good portion of it is extending kind of north of the Caribbean into like the Southwest Atlantic. And as you can tell, indicated by these oranges and reds and blacks, this indicates colder cloud tops, which indicates deeper, stronger convection. So this is in general moving west, a little bit kind of west-northwest, but in general more west than anything. And we're going to watch this as this continues to kind of head into the eastern Gulf of Mexico and just deliver a lot of tropical activity in this area, and then it'll have a chance to develop somewhere in the eastern Gulf. Okay, now this is going to interact a lot with Cuba and the terrain in Cuba, which in some areas is very mountainous, high terrain, and I think that this will mess with these little pieces of vortices, little pieces of energy kind of embedded in this tropical wave, and that will have a factor ultimately how far west or east this system will go. Okay, we'll just leave it at that for now. So that's our tropical wave right at this moment. So let's continue to move. So the latest advisory, oh, actually, I want to show you this too. I forgot I had this tab pulled up. This is the system right here too. Now, I want to show you guys this because it really indicates the cyclonic spin to this that's starting to get going. If you look closely, and if you're wondering why the screen gets kind of doled out over here, that's because the sun is starting to set of course, east to west. The sun is setting on the Atlantic right now. So if you notice, you're getting some of this kind of curvature bands right into here, kind of going like that. That was telling us this is starting to get a little bit of an elongated spin to it, a little bit of a cyclonic circulation to it now. So this is in the process of trying to get its act together. And I think if you didn't have Cuba right here, this would ultimately succeed in getting its act together, probably somewhere into here in the shorter term. But I think the interaction with land, with Cuba, stuff like that, I mean, even with the southern tip of Florida, is going to prevent this from really getting its act together in the shorter term. Shorter term meaning like the next 24 to 48 hours. But this has starting to get like a legit little spin to it. I'm sure this is not a full spin, or this would be a tropical depression right now, but getting a nice kind of some curvature bands to it. And this is a sign of a very healthy and, in a way, a strengthening tropical wave. So that's it right here. I always like to look at the actual satellite here indicating the clouds, the surface of the ocean, these blue colors here. It's always a pretty thing to look at, if you will. So the latest now from the National Hurricane Center. This right now has a 70% chance, it's bumped up from this morning, a 70% chance to develop into a tropical depression or our next named storm, which would be Debbie. So this is our wave right here. And we just showed you the satellite. Where the X is, it has a 70% chance to develop in the next 7 days in this red outlined area right into here. And if you notice, well, if you remember a couple days ago, even just a day ago, this area was more so over like off the coast of the southeast. Now it's over Florida and then off the coast of West Florida, more so in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, really all in the eastern Gulf of Mexico right now. So that's where it has that 70% chance to develop sometime in the next 7 days. And I believe it has let's go to the 2-day. It has a 30% chance to develop sometime in the next 48 hours. I'm going to show you guys this one a lot. I typically keep it at 7 days, but it also has a 30% chance to develop in the next 2 days. So that's where our wave is right here. All right, so let's go over all the latest model guides. We're going to back this up because I was looking at it a little bit earlier. So I just kind of showed you guys a teaser right there at the beginning of the model run. But we're going to start this off by Saturday morning. So just forget what you just saw just a second ago, and let's look at the actual process of us getting back to what you just saw. So Saturday morning, this wave off the latest GFS, the one that literally is still running, it's not even fully ran yet, it has this tropical wave right here kind of between Cuba and Florida, but you're going to have energy extending south of Cuba into the Caribbean, and then we're already going to have a lot of shower and storms ongoing and developing and maintaining across southern sections of Florida. So our wave is right into here. Still not really put together, well put together, but it's trying. Then the energy fully starts to get into the Gulf of Mexico. And I want to say this, and I'm going to actually show you it here in a second. The sea surface temperatures here in the eastern Gulf of Mexico are some of the warmest in the world right now. In the upper 80s to like 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Right now, like 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. It's very, very warm. Bathtub waters in the eastern Gulf of Mexico right now. So, yeah, that's a factor, and we'll talk more on that here in a second. All right, so it's saying, let's go all the way to about Sunday morning. The GFS has ticked a little bit further east compared to the 12Z GFS. This is the 18Z GFS, the latest one we have. It actually makes a landfall south of Tampa as a kind of low-end, moderate tropical storm. Brings a lot of, nothing too crazy. And by the way, they've already issued a state of emergency for many counties in the state of Florida. In fact, I kind of meant to pull that up, but I forgot to. But if you live in Florida, you probably already know if your county's under a state of emergency. But yeah, just wanted to mention that too. So they're already getting prepared in Florida. They're not messing around. I don't blame them one bit. We see what these tropical systems can do in a short amount of time. Don't blame them one bit. I think it's a very good idea. Tropical storm makes landfall on the west coast of Florida somewhere. All that tropical moisture cruises over Florida. And then this doesn't stay over Florida very long, and the actual center of this circulation gets back over water, but not in the Gulf of Mexico, off the coast of the southeast. So this is like late Sunday night getting into Monday morning. All of a sudden we have 1,002 millibar low. Remember, the deeper you see this number drop, and let's go on and scoot this to right here. There it goes, making a landfall over Florida, getting off the coast of Georgia. And we'll kind of go back to where we were just at. In fact, let's go one more right here. This is late this coming Sunday night, kind of August 4th and August 5th. Overnight, Sunday night into Monday morning. 1,002 millibar low. This will be a tropical storm. The further you see this number drop near this L, the stronger this system. And to keep this going, 1,001 millibar low off the coast of South Carolina, Monday morning. Okay, we take it to Monday afternoon, 998 millibar low. So this is strengthening right off the coast of Charleston and Myrtle Beach. Okay, and then we get into Monday evening, even stronger. Monday night, even stronger. Tuesday morning, we got a full-fledged, strong Category 1 hurricane off the coast of the Carolinas. And it looks like, okay, this thing's heading out to sea, right? Wrong. This thing stalls out from Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, for 48 hours, pulls a Florence, right? Hurricane Florence. I know you guys in the Carolinas, 2018, remember that one. But it comes in from a different direction. It kind of stalls out in the same area, though. Stalls out off the coast of Wilmington as a major hurricane, okay? At the strongest, it's like a 974 millibar low hurricane, which is borderline Category 3 hurricane, major status. Middle of next week, guys. And then it gets trapped under stagnant steering currents, and then actually gets pushed back northwest, makes an eventual landfall into the North Carolina coastline Thursday night and Friday morning, and then moves inland, and of course weekends and brings flooding rains across the Carolinas. I'll reiterate this again. When you see that, don't tell everybody that's exactly what's going to happen. We don't know yet, but these crazy model runs that we're seeing, they're not so crazy anymore when you look at the upper steering currents and the pattern, which we'll discuss here in a second. Now, what about the European model? What does it show? So here comes the Euro. All right, we're getting into Sunday morning. There's the L that pops off here. It just looks like a bunch of unsettled weather. And by the way, some of this tropical moisture could be all the way up here in the Carolinas Sunday morning. Okay, you guys could already be getting kind of a amplified flow. I can't speak tonight, guys, if you haven't noticed, but I'm just going to keep rolling with it. Just a flow of moist air all the way into the Carolinas. Okay, we get into Sunday midday. This is a 10-11 millibar low. Still very weak. I mean, it gets so weak, it just kind of disappears and reappears. It's a very weak low. And it's getting stuck in this area. If you notice, this is Sunday morning. This low hangs out in the same area for like 48 hours. This is Monday morning. This is Tuesday morning. Okay. And at Tuesday morning, it's really close to where the GFS shows it. Okay. It's just a little bit further south. It's just the movement slower than even on the GFS. This low gets kind of just off the coast of Georgia. Tuesday morning, August the 6th, and does pretty much what the GFS does. It's just not as crazy and as aggressive strength-wise as the GFS. So this is Tuesday evening. This is Wednesday morning. We got 1,004 millibar low off the coast of the southeast, and then it does eventually deepen into a 998 millibar tropical storm, throwing a bunch of moisture into the Carolinas. And then, we're getting into Friday. This is still off the coast of South Carolina. We're getting into Saturday, still off the coast of South Carolina. And this eventually finally moves into the Carolinas as like a tropical storm. Just crazy. Latest icon run. All right. I don't even know if I've looked at this yet, so this is new to me. We get this into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. It's slamming the entire west coast of Florida with outer bands and just nasty weather on the dirty side of these tropical systems, which is the right east quadrant. Brings the tornado threat, brings the most rain, yada, yada, yada. Okay, we'll discuss more of that when we know exactly where that bad part of the storm is going to be. We get into late Sunday evening. This makes a landfall, the icon does, as a tropical storm, pretty strong tropical storm into the Big Bend of Florida sometime late Sunday night into Monday morning. Cruises it over North Florida, gets into the southeast sections of Georgia, gets it back off the coast of Georgia. Same thing as the GFS and the European model. As a 997 millibar low, it's already strengthening. And at this point, this is as far out as we can go. Okay? And I mean, it pretty much follows the GFS and the Euro, except, different strength with this. It's 994, getting close to Category 1 hurricane status. I would still say this is a tropical storm, most likely. I always like to say Category 1 hurricane when I'm trying to guess it millibar-wise is 990 or lower. But it's always different, too. Okay, but this is a pretty strong tropical storm right off the coast of Savannah, Tuesday midday, and this is as far out as this model run goes. Now, if you go back and you look at the 12Z, it's not much different in this same area. Now, watch what the 12Z run goes, which goes all the way to 1 week out. we get into Wednesday morning, and it is a nasty major hurricane, but it looks like it's heading on out to sea as it finds a weakness in the pattern. So even though it's a massive, very strong hurricane, it's not bothering anybody but the fish out in the ocean. The last thing we'll look at is the Canadian model, and we'll kind of breeze through this one quick. But it kind of follows the Icon model, makes a landfall as a weak tropical storm, maybe just a depression into the Big Bend of Florida. It actually strengthens over land over Georgia. Just brings a lot of unsettled weather deep into Georgia, into the Carolinas. But it doesn't sneak this off the coast of the southeast and make a secondary landfall or try to strengthen. It just kind of moves in and then moves out. Okay? So let's talk about the latest European ensemble model guidance. This makes up 51 members. If 51 low pressures actually form out of the 51 members, then 51 L's are going to show up on your screen. If 25 members form, then only 25 L's are going to show up. So this is going to throw all the L's on the screen that actually show up per the EPS, which makes up those 51 members. So we keep this going, and that's a pretty strong signal for this load to get off the west coast of Florida. You got a couple members that find the weakness in the pattern very quickly and then scoot on out. But almost all these make a landfall, but then look how they all slow down. I mean, like for example, they're all kind of making a landfall around the same time, sometime late Sunday night and a Monday morning. Okay, but then we get into Tuesday, and then we get into Wednesday, and then we get into Thursday, and then we get into Friday, then we get into next Saturday, then we get into next Sunday. Look how all these members just start spreading out, just going wild, looking like broken spaghetti noodles out here, and just they don't know what they're doing. That tells you that we have some extreme disagreement with model guidance because of this blocking ridge of high pressure to the north, which we'll discuss here in a second. And then we look at the GEFS ensemble guidance, which makes up 21 members. And it's the same thing. I'm not going to kind of make it all a movement. You see how they all kind of move in, and then they just kind of do this number and just start bending and hooking and all that rigmarole out here. So it's a huge disagreement. I want to talk about why it does that here in a second. So just stick with me if you're wondering what in the world is going on. But let's talk about the environment conditions out ahead of this system. Okay, sea surface temperatures. This is in Celsius. So our tropical system is right into here. This is where our wave is. This is expected to move in general right into here. Maybe let's draw that area a little bit better. Maybe kind of more so right into here. Okay. The sea surface temperatures in this area right into here, guys, 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. That's in the upper 80s to close to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And guys, I want to tell you, if this moves into this area, it'll have an opportunity to strengthen. But if it moves back off the coast of the southeast, like a lot of this model guidance is showing right into here, then it'll have an opportunity to get over the Gulf Stream, which has sea surface temperatures in the mid to upper 80s also. So it's already over very warm waters right now in the mid 80s in Fahrenheit. So check that off the box. We don't even need to spend too much longer on this. Check it off. I mean, sea surface temperatures they've been supported for tropical development. I mean, a month ago we had a Category 5 hurricane in the Caribbean. So you already know that these sea surface temperatures are like bathtub water, which if you don't know what the warm sea surface temperatures do, this basically helps aid in firing convection. It's basically that warm, moist air gets picked up off the surface of the ocean. It rises and just continuously helps to aid in firing that shower and storm activity, which then creates a nice moist bubble and a moist atmosphere for these tropical systems to kind of just mooch off of, if you will. Now, the upper wind pattern, I've been discussing this too. Now, it's going to be hard to see on your screen, but you see kind of the L that pops up right here. The EPS is saying, this run is saying that the low pressure is going to be somewhere into here. It could be, I don't know, it could be right over here, it could be right over here, it could be right there. Okay, but in general, somewhere in that circled area. Okay, it's a little bit displaced from the anticyclonic flow, what we call ULAC it's an acronym. It's a weather acronym. It stands for Upper Level Anticyclone. But in general, what we do know is in the northern hemisphere, these systems have a cyclonic flow to them in the low to mid levels, these tropical systems. Low pressure does. Okay? But if you look above this system in the upper levels of the atmosphere, if you look at these lines with these arrows embedded into them, and what we're looking at is winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere, 35, 40,000 feet up in the air, 200 millibars. Okay, so this is way above this tropical system. Air is getting dispersed outward from this system. Okay, getting pulled away. And I mean, right in here, it gets kind of close. So this system might deal with a little bit of shear, I would say, on the western and northwestern side of the system, especially you see in this blue area. This is winds in 35, 40,000 feet up in the air going at about 20 to 25 knots. So this system could deal with a little bit of shear. Every tropical system deals with at least a little bit of shear. But in general, air is being pushed out away from the system. So as air rises through this system, it gets thrown back out, it gets pushed back out. That allows for more air to rise. That gets pushed back out, allows for more air to rise. And we know that rising air allows for the sustaining of shower and storm development, and basically firing of shower and storm development. And of course, a tropical system needs storms. It needs a moist environment. So that's why this would help this system. The upper wind pattern is certainly supportive for at least maintaining tropical system and tropical development in this case, as air is basically has a nice outflow, a nice ventilating system for this system. Okay, so we get that back off. Now let's discuss steering currents. And guys, I'm just going to start this off by looking at the central to eastern U.S. I want you to look down here. Okay, right down here. So I want your eyes to kind of hang out down here, and then at the same time, somehow I want your eyes to go from the top of your face to the bottom of your face. Just kidding, guys. But I'll slow it down for you guys and make sure that you guys are understanding what I'm saying. So in the red areas, kind of the pinkish areas, the warmer colors on your screen, that is ridging, and we got just a lot of ridging going over going pretty much on top of the lower 48 right now. That's why pretty much everybody is pretty warm across the lower 48 right now. Okay, and the blue colors you see on your screen, that's going to be lower pressure. Those warmer colors, that's high pressure, ridging. Blue, lower pressure, a trough of low pressure, an upper low, just low pressure. Okay, so we're going to start this off this evening. You see this feature right here? That's a shortwave trough. Just say an area of low pressure that's embedded in this ridge. It quite literally is trapped in this entire ridge right here. And it's coming this way. And in fact, it's pretty impressive. If you match this with what's actually going on water vapor loop, you can see it. That's it right there. This is actual water vapor loop. That is the same system, okay, that you are seeing right here. So it does have a factor on the steering currents of this system. So watch as this feature dives down. It kind of splits open the ridge. You still got ridging back over here. You still got ridging up here in Canada and a little bit over Atlantic Canada. Okay, so all of a sudden, we got this trough digging down, which is going to bring some unsettled weather into the weekend for the eastern U.S. And then our low is going to emerge on your screen. You're going to see a blob of blue come up at the bottom of your screen in the Gulf of Mexico when I get this back in motion. So this is Friday evening, tomorrow evening, and then we're getting into Saturday evening, and then we're getting into Sunday evening. I want to stop it right here. Okay, so you see this blue area? That is our area of interest. At this point, this might be a landfalling tropical storm at this point, Sunday morning, August the 4th. Okay, you got ridging over here. You got ridging over here. Flow around this ridging is going like this. Okay, and then flow around this ridging is going like this. So there's a huge trough up here in Canada that once upon a time we thought maybe it would dive all the way down here. That's not the case anymore. But that upper low that's digging down into the eastern U.S. right now has created a wide open weakness right in here. Okay, and we know that tropical systems, a stronger low normally wants to try to get poleward. It wants to, whether we're talking about an injecting trough, a tropical system, they always want to try to get north, especially when they're strengthening. They want to gain latitude. Okay, so get this back off. So this looks like it has a nice clean sweep to head on out, or either go out this way. Okay, you're thinking, okay, well this is a huge weakness. This is going to head on out. It's not going to bother anybody. It is going to bother Florida, make a landfall, but maybe not a huge tropical system, just maybe a tropical storm. And I know you guys in Florida can handle something like that, but watch what happens. Why does the GFS show its funky, crazy scenario solution here? Well, it finds the weakness, and there's that blue blob. It's heading north. It looks like, okay, I got a nice weakness here. I'm going to head on out. Okay, what's going on? Now this reddish orange area, this is ridging, starting to build. Watch it build back towards that area of blue. So, okay, I still see a weakness right here. Okay, I'm going to still try to escape. Okay, but watch what happens. One thing I want you guys to note, as flow is going around this ridge like this. Okay, and don't want to get too confused here. And then you have this weakness right into here. Okay, so this tropical system's trying to go this way. This is rotating like this. Okay, so our tropical system can feel already the pull of these currents around this ridge of high pressure. So what this is probably doing is this is probably slowing this system down. It's kind of like gears, right? This flow around here is probably pushing back on this system, because even though there's no red over here, there's still kind of a flow going like this around this. Okay, so this is already starting to slow this system down. Now there is, I will say, there is a flow going like this, so this is going to try to help this and kind of boost this way. But I think that this ridge over here is just too far away. All right, to really kind of give this a nudge this way. It could trend that way. But I can tell you, this trough digging down here continues to kind of create a weakness here, at least in this term as we're getting into Monday. All right, and if we keep this going, now watch. This ridge builds on top of this system. So now you have this ridge out in the Atlantic connecting with the ridge over the U.S., so now we got a flow like this. Okay, digging all the way down here. So this weakness that we had here has disappeared now. And we got the ridge around this, we got the flow around this ridge of high pressure going like this, and the flow around this low up here like this. But our system right here can't feel this. So, of course, we know that this flows cyclonically right into here. But the flow around this ridge is basically causing competing currents and actually yanking on this tropical system, forcing our low right in here to sort of kind of get pushed back that way. So even though this is fighting for its life to go north, it's fighting against an opposite steering flow of this ridge of high pressure. So what happens? It causes this to stall out into this area right here. Okay, so it looks like, okay, there's a ridge right there that connects. All right, there's an opening. All right, it looks like it tries to start to move. And then the ridging builds back on top of this again. And here it is, okay? And actually pulls this and finally pushes this into North Carolina as the flow around this is pushing this blob of blue, which would be a hurricane, into North Carolina. So it seems like to me, we're going to kind of back this up. Every time there's a nice window, there's a wide open weakness for it right here. It's like, okay, I'm going to head on out. But then it kind of, that ridge builds right on top of it, literally on top of it, but substantially to the west of this system, immediately feels the tug of this and starts just stalling this thing out. And then when it thinks that it has that escape route again, that ridge kind of weakens right there. It's like, okay, well, this thing's about to head on out. Ridging builds back on top of this system again, like the North Atlantic Ridge builds on this. So that's what happens, okay? Wide open weakness, yeah. So pretty wild stuff. I hope I explained that in a way you guys can understand. Flow around high pressure and low pressure are different. One's cyclonic, one's anticyclonic. High pressure, anticyclonic. Low pressure, cyclonic. Okay, so last thing I'll discuss is potential rainfall. Please don't look at this and say that's exactly how much rain you're going to get at your house. But the Big Bend of Florida looks to get between now and the next 9 to 10 days almost a half a foot of rain. The west coast of Florida could get anywhere from 6 to 10 inches of rain. Florida's going to get soaked. We head on up to our friends here in the Carolinas and the rest of Georgia. If we can find this. And there's an opportunity for a lot of rain. But as you can tell, most of it's off the coastline. The immediate coastline of Georgia and the Carolinas could get over a half a foot of rain. This needs to be, we need to watch this because I don't feel comfortable showing you all the model outputs for rainfall because they are so substantially different, but some of them are absolutely outrageous. So That's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Stay tuned. This information will change a lot. Talk to you soon.